Hello there and welcome back to my YouTube channel and to today's video all about how to pass your upcoming financial reporting, that's the FR, also known as the F7 paper. My name is James, if this is the first time you've ever clicked on one of my videos or visited my channel should I say, and here I help ACCA and accounting students around the world pass their upcoming examinations. And as well, if you've never clicked on one of my videos, you wouldn't know that I dedicate all my videos to my lovely subscribers. So as you can see on the screen here to the left and right of me, Soumya, thank you very much for your comment on there. And as you can see, the last video which Soumya watched was it helped to relax and plan my revision for a more organised way. Could you have some basic tip videos on financial reporting similar to this? That would be great. Oh, and Ambuj on there? Right. Oh, gosh, Ambuj has got some exemptions and he's actually got financial reporting due in the coming month of December on there. Well, I'm recording this in September, so I'll make sure it's on there for you, Ambuj on there. Thank you so much for your comments, guys. And if you would like to leave me any yourself, and be sure to subscribe so you get access to all my free resources and all of my uploads, just hit the button down below. And as well, be sure to give the video a massive like and thumbs up. As ever, thank you so much for all the support to the channel, and it's so pleasing to see that the videos helping you guys pass your examinations. So be sure to share this video with a friend if you know anyone who's got the financial reporting exam, because we're going to go through 3 top tips that I would definitely be implementing if I had to sit the exam myself, whether that be tomorrow, next week, next month. And these are the things that could be the difference in getting those final little marks to get the 50 plus to pass the examination. What I've done for you as well is I've actually put the timings of this video in the description below, along with all the relevant books and texts and other resources and everything I've referenced in the video. So make sure you check it out. The ball is really in your court, but make sure you get nice and comfy. Watch all the way to the end. I'm going to go through it in real detail so you get all the insights out of me. Go through all the notes. They're definitely going to help you out, because the first key tip that you need to be implementing is an exam time strategy on this. So just please be aware this is for the computer-based examination, the CBE, but if you are taking the paper-based exam wherever you may be around the world, there may be some slight adjustments to time, but just check with ACCA on their website for more specifics for your exam. So just to be crystal clear on there won't be much difference in it either way. But for the CBE, you're going to have 3 hours to complete the examination, so 180 minutes, and usually about 10 minutes of reading time at the start of the exam as well, just to go through the instructions. That's not about actually going through the question itself. In the actual financial reporting exam, you've got 3 sections to note down. So this is, maybe you've never even looked at financial reporting before. In section A, you've got A, B and C. Section A, you've got 15 objective test questions, all that are 2 marks each. And because we've got 180 minutes in the examination for 100 marks, that means it's at a basis of 1.8 minutes per mark. So in section A, you've got 30 marks at 1.8 minutes per mark. So that is 54 minutes on section A. In section B, you've got 3 case style questions, and these are 5 questions split up in there. So you've got 5 questions, 2 marks each from 3 sort of case style questions. So overall in section B, you've again got 30 marks. So the split of those 3 questions, 10 marks each. So another 54 minutes for section B. And then finally, we've got section C, where you've got 2 scenario-based questions, both 20 marks each. So 40 marks in total, at 1.8 minutes per mark. So you've got 72 minutes on there, so 1 hour and 12 minutes. But the key question you are asking me now is, that's all very wonderful, James, but what would you do if you were in my situation and you've got to do the examination? Well, this is only going to work if you've done lots of question practice, you've been through the full syllabus, but what I'll do for you is I'll put the breakdown of all the timings that we're going to walk and talk through up here. So first of all, as you can see, I would start off by spending 30 minutes directly on section A, fully focused, full of energy at the start of my examination. I'll be going through it, analysing the questions, flagging any on the computer-based system that I was a bit unsure about, but I can come back to later. Then, after those 30 minutes, and the reason why I do it as 30 minutes is, well, you've actually got those questions at the start, haven't you? So 30 minutes on there for the 15 questions. So the 15 objective test questions, 2 marks each. So if you've given yourself 30 minutes, that's 2 minutes per mark on there, or 2 minutes per question, should we say. And then after that first half an hour, you then need to be moving on to section B, okay? And I'd spend another 30 minutes on that section. So this is where it keeps it really easy to track the clock. It's one of the key things the external examiner says in their reports, that students are bad at time management on this examination. So make sure you get that down in your notes. So at this point in the exam, we're an hour in, we've been through section A, we've been through section B on there. So now what I need you to do is you're going to do a full hour on section C, okay? So that would mean that you're 2 hours in, 1 hour on section C, half an hour on section B, and half an hour on section A. So that when you've actually gone through section C, at that point then, you're 2 hours in, you've been through everything on the examination, and you've now got 1 hour to go. This is where it gets serious because, and well, how can I say, the time management is the key factor in this, that because sections A and B are marked by the computer, this is where we're going to have some time now to go back and review them. So 2 hours in, we're now about to go back and review all the 3 sections. So I'd definitely be having a sip of water, deep breath on there, trying to clear my mindset, whether I've had some good questions, some bad questions, because for the first 15 minutes of the remaining hour, I'm going to go back to section A, go to any flag questions on there, make sure I've answered all of them because I won't be coming back. Just read it through really thoroughly and really say to yourself, I'm going through this because I know I've made mistakes in this part of the exam. There's no way I've got them all right, so I've got to find those mistakes as I go through. But you've also got to say to yourself there, well, that would mean, James, we've actually only spent 45 minutes on section A. Well, the reason for that is because we're pinching 9 minutes from section A and we're going to reallocate that into other areas, because in my eyes, section A is the easiest section of the examination, so I'd rather allocate that time into another area which I need to be more focused and use that time more effectively. So we've got 45 minutes left now. Then I want you to go back onto section B, and this is where you need to make the judgment as to say, well, how well did my section C go? But just to keep it nice and simple and easy, I would estimate probably about 20 minutes to go back onto section B, review your work, attempt all the flagged areas as well, and make sure you've got an answer for all of them. Really take care here, because section A and B, as we touched on earlier, are marked by a computer. So units, format on there, decimals, these are all really key so that you put it in the right format so that when the computer sees it, whether that be you need to have it to 2 decimal places or a certain number of zeros, that is where you're going to get those marks, and when you're reviewing it, really pick up on it as well, because you will make mistakes on it. And then finally, really dig in. It's the last 25 minutes. I want you to go back onto section C, answer all the requirements, and get down as much narrative and workings as possible. The reason for this is because section C is actually marked by a marker, a person. So the more you show, the better off you're going to be on here. Making sure it's clear and concise, relating back to that requirement, nicely formatted, which we'll come on to later on in the video, how I want you to lay it out. And this is where you're going to be going through all of those 100 marks. It's one of the key things they actually mention in the external examiner's reports and feedback, that students only sometimes answer 80 marks, 90 marks. Well, by doing this approach, you're going to answer all 100 marks. It is going to be tough, don't get me wrong, but the whole exam is tough. But it's designed so that you go through it all, and you go through it and pick up on your mistakes, and it gets you that opportunity to review your answers. That is the key thing. So that is tip number 1, your exam time strategy, with all of the timings up there. Now, coming on to tip number 2 now, when we have our ACCA Financial Reporting Syllabus Insights on here. And the first thing I have to get on record for today's video, and one of the main reasons why ACCA students fail the financial reporting exam, is because they try to question spot and only focus on specific areas, okay? I'll be coming on to those specific areas later on, but you can't do this, as you can get tested on absolutely everything, really specific areas, and some of the fundamentals as well. So what I've done for you is a sort of a nice little breakdown so that you can maybe organise your notes as you're going through the syllabus and your question practice. It's definitely going to help you out, because you need to be comfortable with this before your examination. So if you want to take down up here, this is how the syllabus is actually broken down into those 5 areas from A to E. So you've got the conceptual and regulatory framework of financial reporting, accounting for transactions on there, analysing and interpreting financial statements, preparation of financial statements, that's section C of your exam, and the employability and technology skills of using the computer-based system on there. I have also done a full video explaining the full syllabus on the channel in detail as well. It's nicely broken down for you. That is the video I'd highly recommend you get down in your notes, that after this, go away. I'll put it in the details of the video below in the description. Check it out. It's going to save you so much time, and you've got lots of different insights on there. The next thing to get down from a sort of syllabus insight sort of perspective is that this exam for financial reporting builds on knowledge from the previous financial accounting exams. That's the FA or F3 exam. So if you have failed financial reporting before, and you're watching this video to maybe think, how could I go about it a better way? Or maybe you've got a lot of time before you actually do your financial reporting exam. Well, trust me, it would be really worth revisiting some of your financial accounting notes and also some of your actual law notes. So the F4 paper as well. There are some elements of law that also come up in this examination as well. The other key thing, if you are a resitting student or you want to get on top of your notes or to actually go into it in a bit more detail, you need to read the up-to-date technical articles that you can find on ACCA's website. And it also links into other areas that are going to be required in the syllabus. If you have a look at my video on all the free resources available to you, again, it's on the channel. Find the financial reporting playlist, just watch it through, and it's going to explain to you. The key thing to get down from this video right now are these 12 areas, okay? All of the actual transactions in financial statements you need to be aware of for your financial reporting exam. So you've got everything on there from tangible, intangible assets, impairment, taxation, leasing, revenue, government grants, the whole lot. That is what links into those technical articles, so that if there is an update in one of those standards, well, hey, I mean, would the examiner want to be writing about an update of an actual technical article? Well, if they bothered to write the technical article, I'm sure they might think about putting it in the exam. So just a key thing to say, well, maybe actually a good thing from that would be, from those 12 areas, set it out in your revision notes, pop the actual thing up, the name of the asset or whatever it is, taxation up at the top, and if you've got any notes about that particular area that you picked up from your revision, keep it all clear and concise, 12 different pages. It's definitely going to help you out on that, but a really good way of breaking down the syllabus into sort of nice chunks so they're easier to digest on there. This is really key because you've got to get really good with those 12 areas, because section A and section B, coming back onto the syllabus now a bit more specifically, trust me on this, can test absolutely anything on there. Okay, it's marked by the computer. It could be something specific about a standard or something about the actual financial statements, or it could link into potentially ratios on there. However, this is really key. The examiner states in their actual syllabus and external examiner's reports that the section C of your examination will focus on syllabus areas C and D. And this is where key critical bit for you to get written down, because it will come up on your exam. You will be tested on the interpretation, first thing, and preparation of financial statements of either a single entity or a group on there. Okay, so that is the key thing to get written down. Interpretation and preparation, so putting all the figures together and then telling the external examiner what it means, and that is either for a single entity, so you've got to pick up on this in the actual scenario. Is it for a group with associates and subsidiaries, or is it a single entity, just one overall? As I touched on earlier, I've linked in the description all of the different areas and also the relevant study texts and exam materials to go through past paper questions. So if you want to have a look at those, check them out. They're in the description below, but they all highlight, as we're coming to the end of tip number 2 now, the ACCA Financial Reporting Syllabus Insights. If you break them down like I have done in the video, in your study notes, it's going to help you out to organise those notes, and it could be the difference in getting those extra finer marks on there. So that is tip number 2 out of 3. And coming on to tip number 3 now, we have the financial reporting exam tips and study hacks now. This is where some of them you probably won't actually find in any study text, or it might be online on a forum, but this is where I write down everything from my experience as to where are the common mistakes and how do ACCA students really put themselves at a disadvantage when they're doing the financial reporting examination. And you can probably hear me now, you're probably saying to yourself now going, that could be quite helpful. Well, I've noted it down. Let me walk and talk you through, because we've talked about covering all the syllabus, but one of the things I'd be saying to myself from my experience of going through the financial reporting syllabus and all the different areas is that I'd actually expect to see elements in this examination that I'd go, I really don't know much about that, or I've not really read much into it, or I hadn't really heard about that. So expect to see stuff that you wouldn't actually know, maybe. It's so vast, the syllabus, and questions can be worded funny in an odd manner, and especially under the exam pressure, it can be a bit difficult. But don't let one question in section A for 2 marks really sway you off from focusing on section B and section C on there. It's just the exam pressure. There will be these little things. Don't get overwhelmed. But the key thing just to get noted down is just break it down bit by bit and try and work out, what do I know? How can I apply it on there? That is just so key, because on section A, when I'm reading the questions, you've just got to ask yourself, when I see the answers on there, is there a distractor or an outlier? And what I mean by that is there an answer that just can't possibly be right? Or does it not relate to what is being asked in the requirement at all? That's the first thing I'll be asking yourself. And then next thing is try to use your professional judgment to actually eliminate answers that, again, you say to yourself, that from my knowledge of financial reporting, that just can't possibly be correct. And in order to pass this exam, you need to be doing as many of these questions in section A particularly to time like it would be in the real exam. So yes, we've touched on before, giving yourself that half an hour and then the 15 minutes, but maybe you want to do it to 54 minutes. It's up to you. I would try and go through them to the half an hour, then the 15 minutes review, just like we talked about in the strategy, but the ball is in your court. And this is where reviewing your answers and then saying where you went wrong, going through the section A questions in your revision, write these down in your notes on there. So when we talked about those 12 areas up above and the 5 key syllabus areas, really try and focus it in and say, which area does it relate to? And then keep it clear and concise and condensed all in one place. And to be honest, section A, I'd be using these sort of style of questions, reading them out loud, talking myself through it, or saying it to a partner or a study buddy, because it's going to add some variety to your actual revision. For me, section B and section C, you need to do it focused, no distractions, pen and paper, computer-based examination, practice platform, whatever it may be. But section A, you can sort of get away with reading it out loud, saying the answers, and then saying, well, I think it's option A because. Find out if it's the right answer. If it is, great. If it isn't, then write down why you got it wrong and what knowledge you need to develop on that. So that's what I'd be doing for section A. For sections B and C, we touched on before, it needs to be done to time with as many past paper questions as possible on here. The same for section A, to be honest. As many questions as you can do, the better off you're going to be. Now, section B is an actual 10-mark question. You've got 3 of those on there, so you've got 18 minutes per question. Now, what I have got on the channel, which I know loads of students benefit from, and I'll put it up here and check it out, I'll put it in the description below. It's a study with me video. It holds yourself accountable. Pop it on, it counts down on the 18 minutes, and it's really helpful because it shows you how quickly the time goes. And I always find it's all about really understanding the details of the question with the time pressure and not making silly mistakes. So picking up on those key buzzwords in there. And the other key thing for section B is it's again marked by a computer. So if you misinterpret a figure or how it's worded, that's why by doing it to time, using the other resources on the channel, it's definitely going to help you to pick up on any silly mistakes on there. Now, coming on to section C, what would I be implementing here? Well, the first thing is I've got to say to myself, right, 40 marks here. I've got to first of all say, where are the easy marks? Okay, where are the easy mark strategy on here? And this is where You know, section C, you're going to actually have to interpret and prepare financial statements. We talked about it before, for either a single entity or a group, okay? So accept, yes, there are going to be the higher marks that are from this. You've got 40 marks on there to apply your knowledge to that single or group entity back to the scenario. But just read the requirements through. Remember, clear and concise, picking up on those key words, and then asking yourself if that requirement is actually relating to, and this is the key thing to get down as a really good exam technique, is it relating to the scenario itself directly? So if it was Apple Limited on there, or is it, secondly, is it going on about just bog standard financial reporting knowledge? Now, if it's financial reporting knowledge that you don't see in the question that it's relating to Apple Limited, then write down an answer straight away, any points that come to your mind, because that is where you've got 2 bites of the cherry on this. That yes, right, what do I know about intangible assets on this? Okay, first point, there we go. Leave a space, next point, because then that's saying to the marker, right, the student here has written their first point up here, given me 2 lines. They've got to now look at that and go, have they written enough there for a mark of this? I'm going to make a decision. Right, next paragraph. Have they written enough here for a mark or 2? Got to make a decision. And then the second bite of the cherry is you can go back into the scenario, see if there are any aspects about intangible assets or whatever it was, and then you could write it in there as to Apple Limited and their intangible assets, how they actually sort of calculated it, or how it was actually disclosed in the financial statement. Something on those lines. It's a really good technique, so you've got more chance of getting marks on there. Some for basic knowledge and some for applied knowledge. Right, next tips, even more important. Well, they're all important. These are all things that I'll be doing. That's why I'm telling you. But section C, with your workings now. This is another key thing as to do your workings up at the top of the answer sheet. So on the computer-based system, you're going to have an Excel spreadsheet, and you're going to have an actual sort of Word document on there, an answer sheet, and then just start your answer by actually showing all your workings. So this could be, for example, any adjustments you need to do, any workings maybe, pro formas, ratios as well. These are other key things I'll be doing right up at the top. This is going to save you time from having to go back to the scenario, back to your answer, do the calculations. I'd be doing any calculations that I can see from doing my requirement analysis right at the top straight away. Then I can focus when I've got to maybe write down my answer, the application back to the scenario on there. That is where you're going to add the most amount of value in your answer, and then you're going to refer to those direct figures because that is what the marker is looking for. You're going to write out and have a copy of all the Excel pro formas here. So going into your exam, you know in section C that you've got to have a pro forma in your mind about how to do a single entity and how to do a group of workings on there. So before the exam, you have to know that, otherwise you are going to be at a massive disadvantage. So that if a single entity comes up, you know how to lay it out. If a group comes up, you know how to lay it out. And this is also along with other pro formas for actually calculating impairment loss, has also previously been tested, EPS, diluted EPS, ratios, goodwill. These are all the key things you need to pick up in your actual syllabus and say, what has been tested? What have I actually got to calculate? And then again, get it in a folder, all clear and concise altogether. So they'd be my pro formas that no matter what they threw at me in the exam, and they could throw anything at me in section C on there, depending on the detail level, I am prepared for it. So that would be another key thing for section C. When you're reviewing the section C scenarios, this is another key thing I've seen in plenty of past paper questions. Check for anything in bold, okay? These are the key points that the marker wants you to pick up on and wants you to refer to specifically in the requirements. That is just so underrated that, yes, when you look through the scenario and you're looking through the requirements, you see all this text, but just train your eyes to have a look at it and go, right, when I'm looking at it, what is bold here? What is standing out? Because sometimes they indicate that that particular section relates to a particular requirement, and it really helps you to focus in on your answer. And finally on here, whilst we're touching on the actual scenario when you're reviewing it, any data, tables, graphs provided, just think to yourself, if you see one in the exam, get this written down, how can I apply any of these back to the requirement so I can get some marks? Or in other words, think about it this way. The external examiner will not put these in if they didn't want you to use them in some way. So they're there to add value to your answer, utilize them, but you've just got to get into that mindset to think how you could on that. Next, we've also got to talk about the units and metrics. I touched on it before earlier, particularly for section A, but really to emphasize it now for A and B on there, because both are marked by a computer. If you put in the answer in the wrong format, the computer will mark it wrong. So that could be hundreds of thousands on there. You've got to be specific, say if it was to 2 decimal places, or if you actually have to maybe round it up. Converting units is another one. Currency to the whole nearest whole number is another one. And because we've got ratios in this and other workings, percentages is another key one, just to be aware of that you put it in the right format. So another key area not to make silly mistakes. Don't overlook section C in this exam, okay? In my eyes, section C is the hardest part of this exam, and the external examining team consistently say in their reports that students don't actually answer all of those 40 marks when we've got 2 questions, 20 marks each, and they fail to show, and again, other things to get written down, enough workings, enough narrative, and enough detail. These are the things that they continually see in answers of students that fail this examination. Remember, section C is manually marked, so workings and all carried forward marks will apply, so that even if you get something wrong at the top of your workings but carry it on forward, you won't miss out on any other marks. So really key technique that get down as much narrative on the side, guide the marker through, and imagine if you had to mark your own work. Are you following a clear and concise pro forma, working it from top to bottom, or are you fishing for figures left, right and centre? I would prefer the first option, because then you go through it, tick, 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 tick. That is what the marker will be doing. Follow some pro formas and layouts from the previous exam papers or past paper questions. That would definitely help you on that. Finally on here, make sure you're actually comfortable with the functions of the computer-based examination platform, the format and the calculator on there. You don't want to be wasting time trying to operate it. You can go on to and log into ACCA's practice platform on there. Try as many computer-based examination questions as you possibly can. I'll put the details on here, up here on the video, where I'll walk and talk you through all of the free resources. Make the most of it. They're definitely going to help. And again, could be that little difference by just being more efficient in the way you use your time in the exam could lead to just more marks and getting you that 50 plus on there. You don't want to be wasting time sort of going from one sheet to another and then not knowing how to flag it. And I've also heard of some students actually finishing the exam too early on there as well, getting the wrong buttons. So just to be aware, the more practice you do, the better off you're going to be on there. And we're there. That is tip number 3. The financial reporting exam tips and study hacks. My third tip, 3 out of 3 on there. So I hope you have enjoyed today's video. I've tried to give you as much value as I can, so be sure to give the video a massive like and thumbs up. Thank you so much as ever for all the support to the channel. And if you'd like access to all my free resources and uploads, be sure to subscribe and hit the button below. I'm not going to edit that out. Hit the button below, it's all right. And as ever, just feel free to leave me a comment what you thought of the video. I was going to say button again, of the video, along with any questions you've got about financial reporting or any other things about ACCA you'd like me to record videos on. More than happy to help. And as ever, be sure to share this video with any friends, study buddies, or any other maybe colleagues who've got this exam coming up. The little insights of what we've gone through with all the key tips, again, just could be that little difference. I'm sure they'll really appreciate it from you on there. Well, the final thing I can say is best of luck with your examination. If you follow these tips, I really hope it'll help you out. I've got plenty more free videos on the channel, and what I've done for you is, as a final treat, I've left a couple of videos at the end here. Click one of them. Again, it could be that little difference that gets you those little marks that could get you the 50+ in your next exam. But as always on that bombshell, I'll see you next time. Cheers.